Once again, let me take this opportunity and time to welcome one and all in our show, Health Talk. Today, I would like to continue from the talk that we had the previous week on support. But before I do that, let me once again take this time and opportunity to celebrate MANA for the 20 years that MANA has achieved. And in doing so, I'm recognizing our pastors, our General Overseer, Pastor Swike, and our Senior Pastor, Pastor Joylene. Even if it wasn't for them, where would we be? Because MANA has now become our home and our hope. The last time when we had a session, we spoke a lot around support. But today I wanted to expand on support and to say between adults or parents and their children, who often need support the most when we are confronted with stressful events, when we're confronted with trauma, when we're confronted with crisis. Where do adults run for support? Where do children run for support? Where do children find the support? Where do parents or adults get their support? I would want to start first with adults for a good reason, because in most cases, adults are the ones that is presumed that would be confronted with challenging situations quite often or more often. And we find adults when they're confronted with situations or events that are stressful, depending if it's in our cultural homestead and such places. We find when, say, a mother is confronted with some stressful events or circumstances, they would seek some kind of intervention from their parents, or taking a break, going home to consult with family, to report in the family, to say, I'm having this challenge at home, I'm having that challenge, I don't know how to go about. Equally, adults are in a position to seek professional help when they feel this is way too hard, I'm able to handle this situation and this circumstance. Sometimes with adults, if it's a man and is confronted with a very stressful event or situation, quite often men will go out and hang around or hang out with other men, maybe sharing their challenges, or having a one or two. I'm not saying a beer, I said one or two. In that way, they find a way to relieve the stress that they have. Whether they're stressed by their partners, whether they're stressed by their children, what they often do is to go out there and in their own words, they will say that I'm going out there to take out the stress. So we find two adults here, who could be parents. A man going out to take out stress by hanging out with other men, or going out to have one or two, and we find a partner who could be a female, depending, because this is not prescriptive to say it's only females who will go to consult with their parents. We men as well will do the same. We would go to consult with our brothers, with our fathers, and and lay it bare with them to say that, this is what is happening. So we have these two sets of parents going out to seek for help. But let them come to children. Children are, quite often they do not have the luxury that we, parents would have. When a father has this challenge or that challenge, he goes out to seek for help outside. When a mother has a similar challenge, would often go out, go home, and so as the father would go home. So let's just check with the children, because where the challenge is, where the epicenter is, that's their home. So these guys, they find themselves in a situation, stressful situation, and unlike the mother who will go home, father going home, these guys, unfortunately, where these things is happening, where where the two others are fighting, where two others are having differences, when where the relationships are not working, finances are not working, parents are stressed and everything, and when they're stressed, they go out. These guys do not have out. This is their home. This is where home is. And guess what? They need support. And the support that they need, they're supposed to get it from the two adults who are busy in their own world, entertaining their own things. I said earlier that, the father would, knowing that there's a challenges at home, after work he will just go out, and have some extended hours with other men, having one or two, and coming home very exhausted, tired to sleep, and would not necessarily have time for these children. The mother also frustrated by the partner whom is having a challenge with, who is not even coming home early, is taking his time with other, and doing other things, coming home, I'm very tired. This man is frustrating his partner and all that. What it means is that the mother doesn't have the energy, doesn't have the the stamina, doesn't have anything that within that she could use to encourage or support the children. Children, therefore, though they need support amidst this stressful kind of events, quite often this is the support they do not get. Let me take a short break and to tell you something that I found very disturbing, and sometimes we often do not find it very disturbing. Have you encountered a child? The child could be 11, 12, 13, and you sometimes get so excited that this child is so mature. This child, is so mature. It's behaving like an adult. This child, it's can cope with anything. If you find a child such as that, get excited, but equally get so worried, because there could have been events that has happened in this child, events that has forced this child to grow up and mature at a very early age. Mature in the sense that this child have to deal with stressful events, have to manage crisis, have to manage, it could be trauma, anything that has happened in the household, and this child had no no one to rely to depend on, and this child had no shoulder to cry on, and this child have learned to depend on oneself. This child has learned to depend, say, upon God, which is good. But hey, this child was forced to depend on God because there were no adults that was to do or perform that role. And what this often means is that when this child matures so early, this child missed out on being a child. This child missed out, on some developmental, stages that are necessary. This child missed out on learning to trust, learning to depend, until such time that the child has matured gradually. Because growing is supposed to be a process. It's not supposed to be an event. But sometimes, children are forced to grow so fast and be able to cope with something that adults sometimes find it difficult to cope with. Therefore, it comes not as a surprise that you would have, children that will mature and mature well in terms of coping, and there will be children who will mature, but not mature, in a real sense of maturing, because they had no one to depend on, because they had no one to support them. You know what? Children have to develop a very thick skin. Children have to develop a shell. Children have to become like tortoise sometimes. They have to just develop this hard outside shell that cannot easily be, penetrated. Children have to learn to defend themselves because there's no one to defend them. They have to do all these things. You know why? Because adults are caught up in their own business, caught up in their own challenges. They're caught up in their own crisis, that they often forget that there are children who need them the most. It therefore comes not as a surprise that, when someone does something, say a child as an adult now commit a murder, when a child commit some serious crimes, like rape, like this, all these robberies and all these things, this scary kind of stuff. Quite often, when this person who is now as an adult, and when they are asked questions, when you want to establish what could have gone wrong, what could have made this child to be so hardened, so difficult, so this, so that, everything else is traced back to when this person was a child. What it often means is that, if you have to correct this adult, you actually have to correct what has been done incorrectly, or what hasn't been done well when this person was a child. Quite often, people that we see now, as we call them drug addicts, the drug dependent, the alcoholics, and all these things that we label, these adults. Most of them did not start this thing today. They didn't start this thing yesterday. Actually, they started with this stuff long time ago. Long time, when they were still kids. when parents will be fighting in the house, father hitting the mother, there will be screams, and these children will go, will run out of the house, go and hide, and and even begin to abuse these kind of substances as a way to deal with stressful events of the time. Now, I asked earlier, between adults and children, who needs support and who needs it the most? And I think without me having to tell you between adults and children who need support and who needs it the most, it should be telling, that children would need support the most. And they need it from the same people who are in the situation. That is why it's very important for adults, for us as adults, for us as parents, to be very close to our children. We should be able to, to read between the lines, whether it's happening between us as adults or as parents, whether we are fighting, whether we are in disagreement. We should be able to say, how is this affecting our children? And maybe, in a way, we would then find better strategies to handle our issues. It is not by coincidence that sometimes parents sometimes have to put, a face. Parents sometimes have to, kind of pretend as if everything is okay before their children. And whatever differences that they have, they find a way to go and resolve them in the bedroom. I'm not saying bedroom should be, a battlefield, but I'm saying, parents should be able to, in a way of providing support, in a way that show that they're considerate of, their children, not fight before them, and not use abusive language when they're before children. And where parents realize that no matter how hard they're trying to hide whatever is happening between them, and this thing is affecting children, because children, unlike adults, when things are not happening, for them it's not happening. If the events in the house are such that, when events in the house are such that they do not support them, they can easily, you can easily spot it, because the performance at school will drop. They will self-isolate, not necessarily to quarantine, but they will self-isolate. They become antisocial. The bubbly child that the loving child that suddenly disappears. And just like a tortoise who would when confronted with situations that are a threat, the tortoise will withdraw. The children will do the same. And it's up to us as adults to read between the lines and say, something is not okay with my child. And if you know what could be stressing the child, it's a plus, because you are able to deal with it. You are able to refer the child to specialists to ensure that the child get the attention that they deserve. And when you are unable to pick it up, and it's just unfortunate, because children are most likely to do things that you least expect them to do. That's where you often have children that abuse substances, children who find themselves in early relationships. Sometimes such relationships end up, with such children becoming, pregnant while still very young. Sometimes they become very unfortunate that, they even contract some dreadful diseases. With young men, for instance, they get involved in some dangerous things like, they could even be, caught up in some sort of robbery, and because they hang around with the wrong gangs, and, because at home things are not working. And, then it becomes very easy, for them to be enticed into some habits that are not good for them. And quite often, if as parents we do not immediately recognize or read into signs that something is not right with our children, and give them the necessary support, by the time we learn that they needed support, quite often it's too late. And when it's too late, sometimes children become so arrogant. Sometimes as parents, when we want to lend a helping hand, quite often children reject such. You know why? Because in their eyes, we are responsible for the situations that they find themselves in. In their eyes, we are the cause. We are the root cause of why they are in the situation they find themselves in. Children need support. And if you thought possibly as an adult you need support the most, maybe you need to begin to think twice. And by thinking twice, I mean that, if you consider the support that your child needs as primary, then you will think less of yourself as an adult, and prioritize your children for support. And if we do that, if we prioritize our children and we give them priority as number one before us, children will learn to depend on us. Children will learn to believe in us. They will believe us, and it will even become easy for them to believe in God. It will be easy for them to discern when they're misled out there, to say, why should I depend on the outsider when I have my parents to depend on? They've never let me down. And if I'm confronted with any challenge, why should I be resorting into substances other than talking to my parents? Possibly they might be able to help me. Once again, family, I said I would want to talk about support, and I think I managed just to bring it home to say children need support equally or even more than we adults need it. Children have got nowhere else to go but to depend on us as adults, whereas we as adults have ourselves as a resource, other people as a resource. It could be even our extended families as support. Therefore, we should prioritize our young ones for support. If family, you would need any further information in the subject that we just shared today, the numbers that you have on the screen are not for decoration. You can call the numbers, you can WhatsApp on the WhatsApp line, and we should be able to take this discussion further on the side. With these few words, I wish you well. Thank you very much.